Greetings, everyone. And as Stephen said, my gosh, it is the end of July, our last TRG 30 in July. I am so pleased to be with you today. And before we get started with today's magnificent guests, I want to say thank you. Thank you to all of you who helped submit data for our TRG COVID comeback report July update. I've got a little bit of a sneak preview here for you as a thank you for your help in helping us measure your confidence in coming back as institutions in this sector. We measured in June your confidence in coming back live by the end of 2020, and now are revisiting this. We'll continue to do this across regions, across types of business models. And here's a top line takeaway, a sneak preview. The final results will hit your email boxes soon. 20% drop in the US in confidence, your confidence in returning live in 2020. The rate of contracting the virus here in the States is growing, and the state by state differences are creating shifts in your confidence for sure. Differences though in other nations. In Canada, the confidence is growing. In the UK, almost a reverse of the US as the published guidelines and phased changes and shifts in our sector there are creating an increase of confidence. More to come soon. Thank you so much for participating. And now, TRG 30. This week is a part of a new aspect of TRG 30 that we're bringing to you that relates exactly to the 7 new ways. And one of those 7 new ways is looking at business models. And part of looking at business models is experimenting with new ways as we consider reopening, redistributing our presence and connection in our community. And to tell their story today, I am thrilled to be joined by David Fisk, who is the executive director for a few more days, David, of the Richmond Symphony, soon to be the president and CEO of the Charlotte Symphony in North Carolina, and Francis Sterling, who is the Richmond Symphony's director of Advancement and Patron Communication. Welcome to both of you. So pleased to have you here with me. And before I even let you talk, I want to say to you that what you have been doing has been a huge inspiration to me. Live classical music, this is the part of our sector that I come from, and it was a thrill to be in my kitchen preparing dinner, which is sort of a miracle in and of itself. But the bigger miracle was that I saw live classical music. It was happening live, and I was so grateful to be able to experience this summer chamber music season in my kitchen in Colorado. This summer series is, just to set the table a little bit, chamber music season for the Richmond Symphony, socially distanced this year in person for a lucky few and very enthusiastic subscribers, as well as subscribers who live stream. And you also made a few single ticket event tickets available too. You're about halfway through the season. The results are stunning. We're going to get to that. But first, David, when you begun this journey, going back to March, you made a decision, a mission-based decision, to keep the musicians, the players at the center of this recovery, this thinking. It started with the decision not to furlough them that you and the board made. Can you just take us back there to how you took that step and why?
Thank you, Jill, and it's great to be with everybody. I think if we all think back to where we were in March, it was like a gut punch. And all of us, I think, quickly realized that this was an existential threat that was about to be unleashed on us. And it forced us back to thinking about our mission, which is to perform, teach, and champion music to inspire and unite our communities. And how in this time, if concerts were to be suspended, could we continue to pursue that mission? We knew that it was still relevant, that music would be needed to heal, to uplift, to bring people together. And the second question that we asked ourselves was about the who, about our people. It was both a combination of head and heart. moving fast at the same time together. We knew where our heart wanted to take us, but our heads needed to figure out if we could get there. And so we crunched numbers real quick and figured out that we had $1.5 million credit line, we had a $750,000 rainy day fund, and we had almost $1 million of reserve funds that weren't endowment related. So we had enough confidence to be able to say to the musicians and our staff, we do not intend to furlough you. And that was before we knew we got the PPP, which once that came through, helped us relax a little. That got everybody working together and figuring out together how we could come up with creative ways to make music. So that became the who driving us. And it was under the auspices, under the umbrella of the how and the where. The how being, how can we do this safely? And the where being, where shall we do it? And we sought early on to look for the first available opportunity to come back live. Our gut's telling us that if we stop the music, it would be really hard to restart it. And that we're all having to make these really tough decisions. But we saw an opportunity coming up in the summer if Virginia's progress through COVID would allow it to begin to plan for live performances in July and August while we got ready, while we built our capacity to be able to do it in April. And that's how we have proceeded.
Right. You had the April music marathon that was all digital. And I remember you telling me that that began to inspire how you might come back in the summer. And as you said, it feels to me very much like a test and learn environment that you're in right now, with the idea of how can we keep players and musicians safe, really, and also audiences safe, and will audiences come back? So talk a little bit about the how here, David. How did you do it? What did it take? What risks were you mitigating, and how did you do that?
Yeah, I'm going to ask Francis to join us in this conversation when it comes to some of the technical aspects of it, because we have a great staff team at the Richmond Symphony, and I simply said, let us try and do this. So April, the music marathon, we did a one-day fundraiser with all of our musicians and staff, and that was our first embrace of technology we hadn't previously tried. We used a combination of Zoom and Facebook, did 9 hours of pretty much non-stop streaming of individual performances from folks' homes, and we raised $65,000. More than doubling our previous music marathon fundraisers. That gave us confidence. And so then we proceeded to plan the 6 concert recital series here in our Dominion Energy Center for the Performing Arts, in a little theater that normally seats 200. And we had to plan it and actually publish the fact we were going to try and do it before we were allowed to under Virginia's rules. We were still in stage 2 at that point. So we had to take a bit of a gamble. But come stage 3, it would coincide with the launch of this series, and thank goodness it did, just by a couple of weeks. So we were able to have a small in-person concert audience, and then we went out live, working with our local public broadcasting company, VPM, and broadcasting on Vimeo.
This partnership with VPM, Virginia Public Media, feels like it was crucial to this relationship. I don't know, Francis, what else you'd add about the hows here. I know you were critical in the development.
Yes, it was very important because we don't have those kinds of staff in-house. We're just, we are a live performing orchestra. We're not a recording orchestra. So just even having one camera and an audio person, we don't have them. So we're very lucky to have a media station that has staff like that you could work with, so they could bring their kit and equipment to stream it. And they stream to us, and then we manage it from there. So it was very much a partnership. We kind of like joined teams and made the stream work. But it was a lot of technical going backwards and forwards, internet connections. I mean, everything that you can imagine, I'm sure everyone else is thinking of. Where do you plug it in? How many cameras do you need? What kind of stream? Do you need a satellite? What kind of software? What kind of platform? And actually having a broadcast station was very interesting to talk to, because they're all about quality of broadcast. They're not worried about whether you've got broadband or not. That's your problem. They're about what's the best quality broadcast. And we were talking about live streaming from our office. So it was very helpful to work with people whose standards were so high for a sound and visual quality that really raised our game, and realized, oh yes, we're not going to be able to do this on Facebook Live or StreamYard. It broke nearly every system we had when we first started.
I'm going to bring this photo back up that I shared a moment ago. I watched again this week. You can see patrons there. The delight that I had the first time I viewed it was watching David greet people. Everyone is masked. Everyone you can see is socially distanced very carefully in the audience. But the quality of the broadcasters we'll see and share in the survey data was very high, and the quality of performance was very high. And that partnership, it had a huge part of the how here. Before I move us to any results, David, Francis, anything else operationally that you think would be important for people to understand?
I think we had to make a decision right in the early stages about how much money to spend on this. You know, it was pointed out that we could do this with a single camera, and we decided to have 3 cameras. And I'm very glad we did that, because this is going to be a model for what we're going to be doing in the fall. And if we had screwed this up on Concert 1, the chance of getting people to come back for the rest of this series and then to trust us with streaming live orchestral performances in the fall would have been really reduced, obviously. So we did invest in the quality, and we were able to raise additional foundation money to cover the cost. So it has really paid for itself. And
Yeah. Okay, so you had relatively strong balance sheet coming in, the ability to take some risks. You made some decisions, and you were managing risks all the way through. I expect there'll be questions about that as we go. But let's talk about the results. And the results are what really, I mean, aside from the performance itself, this year, 2020, you generated more income, sold more tickets, had bigger numbers, philanthropic numbers than ever. Now the numbers are small. For those of you who don't understand the symphonic business model as well, chamber music tends to be smaller, older, wider population of people attending. So these numbers will be small, but the impact is big. So Francis, talk about how many subscriptions you'd sold typically in prior years, or maybe in 2019.
Yeah, so the capacity of the auditorium is 200 seats. And on average, we sell about 120 to 130 subscriptions to the 6 series and 40 to the capacity of single tickets, topping up depending on, who was playing each week. This time around, we could only have 34 people in person in the 200-seater auditorium to adhere to all the guidelines. But of course, with the live stream, there's no limit to how many you can sell. And we've already sold nearly 400 tickets.
Right.
They are a mix of subscriptions. They were initially mostly subscriptions. We sold about 250 subscriptions, so still beating what we could ever sell. But now, as the season's gone on, and we've stopped selling subscriptions, we did a subscription for 6, for 5, for 4, and now it's only single tickets left. The single tickets are now starting to beat the subscriptions for the remainder of the series.
Yeah. When I checked in, you had sold 360 subscriptions, most of which were digital. So, huge increase in ticket revenue, but also huge increase in philanthropy. So I think last year you had something like a $160 donation that came in as a result of this patron base. And this year I don't know what you're up to now.
You're embarrassing me. Yes, we got a grand total of $60. But this time now we're nearly at about $5,000 coming in with the ticket donations. It should be pointed out that the online, the digital tickets are cheaper than the single tickets or subscriptions are for the in-person. So what it feels like is people are topping up to the kind of prices that they had been before. On average, people are sort of topping up by about $10, which is a lot for us.
Yeah.
Which is adding up to this kind of money.
Okay, so that's one part of data. Those are results data, hugely impressive. But you also surveyed. And Francis, you have surveyed in the past. Describe that briefly. And then what kind of questions were you asking this year? And why?
So the surveys, yes, have normally been quite standard. We ask people after concerts, how was your comfort? How did you find the parking? The usual things that you might be surveying. And as we have a fairly regular audience, responses to those surveys are kind of flatlined, to be honest. And often the same people would reply, our more engaged audiences would reply with quite positive comments. With the online experience, what we have found is, well, firstly, we have 43% new ticket buyers who are actually responding to us, which is great. So we're getting new data from new people. And the big questions that are different are obviously, what device did you watch it on? How would you describe your audio-visual experience? And how did you find out about it? This is much more important to us because we're now spending money on digital adverts. Yeah. And usually we wouldn't ask people about the artistic quality per se. We ask people if they enjoyed a concert, but this time for quick, short, online, digital audiences, everything is rate it, rate it, rate it. And so we were brave and we put artistic quality out there as well. And those are the results. Out of 5.
Out of 5, yeah, okay, out of 5. So the artistic quality, and most people here were watching live, not asynchronously. That is what struck me. There's lots of digital content that is asynchronous that's been out there since the beginning of this pandemic, but watching live classical music had such an impact on me, and just the types of people from different countries, not just from Richmond. I feel like you had people in from New Zealand. What were some of those realities?
Yes, that was really nice to see people from around the world tuning in and talking to us. It also meant for the musicians, we have quite a lot of international musicians and international audiences. They could, for the first time, invite their families to watch at the same time. We discovered this at the music marathon. It sounds obvious when you say it now, but we didn't think about it at the time. At the music marathon, some people saying, oh, my family watched from Korea. And what's happened now is that we have viewers in New Zealand, viewers in the UK, viewers in France, viewers in quite a few viewers in South Korea, in fact. And because they can tune in at their own time, they can rewatch over the week, but they get together in watch parties as families or friends of, and sit down and watch it together despite the time zones, which is it just goes to show that if you're into it, that sort of experience is rewarding, and people are looking for it.
I also noted that it wasn't a completely Caucasian or white audience. There was a good proportion, 10 or 12%, that were African American or Hispanic. It was a change and a pivot. Here, we amalgamated, you shared the survey results with us, and I was really affected to see the passion in the responses. Here's are some of them that we saw. You asked, why did you attend? To hear live performance by local musicians. I could hear better, I could see better, and I just plain miss my orchestra. Gave me an option to go. It wasn't possible for it to be live for me. Exposing my children, normalizing virtual interactions and mask wearing. Live performances are better, but love that you're staying relevant. And then you also ask questions in real time and in a chat function, and you got feedback that I think you're using, like, I craved closure. Could someone come back at the end to say something to wrap us up? And I miss my printed program. Displaying the name of the piece on screen might be useful. So you're getting engagement and reaction. David, I know we're going to be moving to questions here soon, and Stephen will pop up on this screen in any moment, but all of this is giving you energy and thinking about the fall. I know you're thinking about the fall. What are you taking forward?
Yeah, I think both the Music Marathon in April and this in July and August has given us confidence that we are on a good track here, that there is demand for these services, and we are supplying something which people are hungry for. So today we are launching our Richmond Symphony School of Music, and we've moved all of our educational programs onto a new website that goes live today in a pilot form and open to others to subscribe to at the end of August. And we're getting ready. We've just announced our full season, that not the full symphony. The symphony is coming back on stage in September with socially distanced placement of the stands and chairs on stage, and of course, reduced capacity in the audience. But we're adding performances to be able to accommodate the subscribers to whom we've already sold subscription tickets. And we will be streaming Saturday night masterworks based upon what we've been learning here over the summer.
Stephen has joined us, and I just want to note I'm surrounded by Brits as he brings himself off of mute. Stephen, I see that we've got questions. Help us make.
You're outnumbered, Jill. Thank you for all of your questions. You can submit those in Q&A. Jill, I just have to say, first of all, we've had someone assign, I think, your first hashtag, which is Jill Robinson is #goals. And I think we all, and everyone listening would agree with that. Thank you, Bradley. David, Francis, thanks so much for sharing your story so far. There's lots of tactical how questions that have come in. So we're going to quick fire through these because there's lots of them coming in, and I've just seen another 10 come in the last few moments. So questions around pricing, the ticket price difference between live and streamed tickets, and how you priced the digital subscription package. Was it an 8-concert summer series? How did you think about singles in the midst of that? Could you share a bit of your strategy there?
Francis.
Yes, we wanted to make it affordable. The decision was with digital, once we realized we had a quality product, was to go wide, not to try and replicate the prices that we charge in the auditorium, but to make something affordable and to reach wider audiences. So we went for the $10 or $12 for a single, $10 it works out per concert for a series. And we thought, well, we'll just see if people will even pay it. Because, of course, we've seen so many things are free, things are $5, things are $30. We felt like that would be a very easy amount of money for our audiences to pay. So it was an experiment on that one. There was also another driver. As many people will know, we have a box office system, we have fees to pay, other people. So we were trying to find what was the ticket price we could get where we wouldn't have to pass on too many fees. Because I think for a digital buyer, having to pay all these different things on top is very annoying. We wanted a single price for a quick and easy purchase because this is a digital experience. So that also played a factor in it as well.
Thank you. From Paul, a question around the technical aspect of streaming live. Did your partnership with VPM make this possible technically?
Yeah, we've had a long-standing partnership with VPM, but we hadn't engaged them in this kind of way before. And it was in a private capacity. They're not broadcasting this. This is us streaming to a private site, pay-per-view. So we're simply using their technical expertise, and then, as Francis said earlier, plugging it into our system.
A question from Samantha specifically around controlling that live stream access. Is there a particular vendor to use? There's questions around what platform do I use to even navigate being able to do this?
So, well, I'll flat out honestly tell you right now, we're not controlling the stream very well. We're using Studio 6, which is a part of a Vimeo platform. That was the cheapest of the professional softwares that we could manage. The quality of the stream that comes from VPM, they stream from their camera to us. The quality of that stream was so big, we couldn't use any of the free platforms. It was just broke them. But of course, once you go into these bigger softwares, you need a bigger brained computer. And for those of us in the administration department, so we had to basically delete the complete computer to put this program on. And we are still working through the tech. We learned how to use the back end of that studio so we can control audio, visuals, the banners, the way it looks. But sometimes, and I have to say, if you're on the hotline, the helpline to Vimeo, give yourself 3 days to get through to them. Sometimes the stream just goes straight out from the camera and it bypasses Studio 6, and all we can use from our Vimeo is the banners. And sometimes it does come through to Studio 6 and we can control it. We're still not sure why, but the stream always works. So the audience will always see it, but sometimes we're controlling it, sometimes the cameraman is.
A question around the person at the station who directed the programs. Had they directed a classical show before? Thanks, Denise, for that question.
Yes.
I think he has, in this case, but not like in this particular way. But we give them the music, tell them the rundown, they come to a dress rehearsal to see it so they can see the setup and then work out when to cut to the fingers or when to cut to the cellist or something like that. And I think when we go to a wider or bigger orchestra, then we'll work maybe a little longer for the director. In theory, if we were controlling the stream, we could do that, but it's more of a risk. It's better that he's live on the ground with the cameraman and audio person to make those transitions for the cameras.
I mean, obviously, with only 2 people, it's not such a difficult thing whether you're watching one or the other. And what people have found really cool is when they zoom in on the fingers or on the sheet music, because that's something which our regular concert audience doesn't get to see. So the regulars are actually really enjoying it because they're seeing a part of the performance that they've never been able to really enjoy as much before. And so we're getting as much positive feedback from the existing folks for different reasons than we do from the ones that are new to us completely.
John and Peter have some questions around the musicians that you used for this. Did you present Richmond Symphony musicians, or were these players from the university, or a combination of both? Yeah. And how were musicians compensated for the streaming element of this?
Yeah, well, we're doing this under the approved agreement with the American Federation of Musicians. So they are compensated extra for the stream part of it. This is the 6th year we've done the summer series, and it's very popular in Richmond because it showcases the individual musicians of the Richmond Symphony playing with pianists from the faculties of Virginia Commonwealth University and the University of Richmond. So we are able to celebrate the quality of the local talent here in the city. And we work with the section leaders to decide who's featured in any given series every year. Sometimes it's driven by the rep. So this year with Beethoven as the themed composer, it was going to be obviously violins, a couple of cellos, and we have a horn player as well, all from the Richmond Symphony.
Michael asked about this reduced capacity. You know, TRG honouring loyalty, and as Jill was talking last week about asking our audiences to hang in there. I mean, you're certainly doing that here, but you can't give everyone who wants to attend a seat, right? So Michael says, how do you choose who gets to attend in person? Do donors trump subscribers? How did you make those decisions?
Francis.
We are giving everyone a seat in the fall. We've added an extra performance. It fits within the rehearsal schedule. We're adding a Friday night. We normally do Saturday nights and Sunday afternoons. We're doing Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and we are reseating all the subscribers first who want to watch in person, and then we will sell remaining single tickets, and we will live stream the Saturday nights. And so if you subscribe but you don't want to come see in person, of course you can watch the live stream. And then we're just working with every subscriber on an individual basis as to whether they would like to donate their subscription or anything like that going forward. So after this experience of selling out those in-person tickets very quickly, the decision was to look after, I mean, David's absolutely right. You don't want to lose your audiences, and there's still the goodwill there despite the pandemic. So it was worth putting on the extra night.
I'm so glad, Stephen, that you went here in this last piece. The next phase challenge around managing loyalists, single ticket buyers, new patrons. This is complicated but not impossible. Seems likely that things will get disrupted occasionally as we go through this. Lots of test and learn, but I can tell you, I am so inspired, David and Francis, by your entrepreneurialism, the way that you keep artists at the center of this and patrons at the center of this. I am so grateful for your participation here. And just before we move, our commitment always is to stop at the bottom of the hour. I just want to remind everyone quickly that we've extended TRG 30 through September. We're diving into the next release philanthropic data from the International COVID Benchmark. So I will be on holiday, as will Stephen, but colleagues extraordinaire are going to be sharing with you data hot off the presses that you will definitely want to see. When we're back, we'll be talking to Shakespeare's Globe in London and Joe Haj at the Guthrie. Always so grateful for your participation. Please give us feedback. We, as Stephen said, we do read it. And David and Francis, boy, oh boy, I am so grateful for your joining Stephen and me today. David, we'll say a fond farewell, and your colleagues will at the Richmond Symphony. I know the folks in Charlotte are looking forward to your joining them. I wonder if there's a final thought, David, that you would say, keep this in mind, and just something that has inspired you about this program and what you've done there.
I would just say to everybody, have faith. It is so inspiring to hear live music come back, that it really lifted us up in the way that we knew it would for our audiences too. And that it is a way for us all to find. It's going to be different in every state and every city. but it's worth us focusing on how can we do it as fast as we may safely.
David, Francis, thank you. Stephen, thank you. Everyone, will see you next month for our upcoming editions of TRG 30.
Thank you, Jill. And there are lots of questions we missed today, and so David, Francis, will find a way to get some of those to the people listening, and do click on the link in chat to provide your feedback today.
Happy to keep answering.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yeah.